You know, every computer has a secret story. Buried in all those ones and zeros is a trail of everything it's ever done. Most of the time, it's pretty boring stuff. But sometimes, that computer is a crime scene, just full of clues waiting for someone to piece the story back together.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Every single click, every website you visited, every file you've ever opened, it's all logged somewhere. So let's dive in and see exactly how digital investigators uncover those secrets.
Okay, so the very first challenge for any investigator is figuring out what kind of evidence they're even looking at. And it really boils down to two main types. First, you've got volatile data. Think of this like a whiteboard. It's what's happening on the computer right now. It's all in the live memory. But the second you pull the plug, poof, it's all gone, forever. Then you have the non-volatile data. That's the filing cabinet. It's all the permanent stuff saved on the hard drive that sticks around even when the power's off.
And this whole process has a name: digital forensic analysis. It's all about uncovering and interpreting that data. Investigators have to make a crucial choice. Do they perform a live analysis on that whiteboard data while the machine's still on? Or do they shut it down and do a dead analysis on the filing cabinet? Each approach tells a totally different part of the story.
So let's say our investigator walks in, and the computer is still running. Well, the clock is officially ticking. They have one shot, one single chance to grab all of that super fragile, volatile data before it just vanishes. This is where the real race against time begins.
So, clue number one. What is this computer actually doing? A really simple command called task list can give them a complete list of every single process that's running. Is there some weird program they don't recognize? Something with a suspicious name? This is the very first breadcrumb on the trail.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. The next question is, who is this computer talking to? Another command, netstat, shows every single connection to the outside world. Is this machine secretly sending data to a server in another country? Is there malware calling home to its master? Suddenly you have a list of connections, and any one of them could crack the whole case wide open.
Now, finding these clues is great, but they're fading fast, so the most critical step is to preserve them. To do that, investigators create something called a memory dump. It's a perfect bit-for-bit snapshot of everything in the computer's live memory. It's like flash freezing that whiteboard, capturing it exactly as it is, so they can analyze it later, long after the computer has been turned off.
All right, with the live evidence safely captured, the investigation can now shift from the whiteboard to the filing cabinet, the hard drive. And this is where the deep dive into the machine's permanent history begins. We're talking about that non-volatile data, the stuff that tells the long-term story.
And right at the very heart of that story is one incredibly powerful, incredibly complex thing: the Windows registry. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like this. It's the computer's DNA. It contains the blueprint for pretty much everything that has ever happened on that machine. And this is what it looks like. Yeah, I know, it looks a little intimidating, right? It's just this massive, sprawling database. But for a forensic investigator, every single one of those folders and keys is a potential lead. It's a digital fingerprint left behind by a person or a piece of software.
And the amount of detail you can find in here is just astounding. I mean, investigators can pull up a record of every single USB drive that was ever plugged into the computer. They can see a list of the most recently opened documents, commands someone typed into the start menu, even URLs they typed directly into their web browser. The registry? It does not forget.
And of course, it goes way beyond the registry. There's a whole treasure trove of other fingerprints. Browser history and cookies can literally recreate a person's path across the web. System event logs show every single login attempt, both the successes and the failures. Even the metadata hidden inside a file can tell you the exact second it was created or changed. All of these pieces work together to build an incredibly precise timeline of events.
But what happens when the most important piece of evidence, the smoking gun, is locked away behind a password? Well, that's when the investigators have to put on a different hat and become digital locksmiths. This whole process is called password cracking. And here's the thing, your computer doesn't store your password in plain text. That would be way too easy to steal. Instead, it stores a scrambled, encrypted version of it called a hash. So the goal of password cracking is to find the one original password that creates that exact same hash. It's like being handed a perfectly scrambled Rubik's Cube and having to figure out the exact moves that got it there.
The most basic way to do this is with a brute force attack. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The software just tries A, then B,
then C, then AA, AB, AC, and so on, through every single possible combination of letters, numbers, and symbols until it stumbles upon a match. It's not fancy, but here's the kicker. Given enough time, it is 100% guaranteed to work.
In that phrase, enough time might be a lot shorter than you think. This is what's so wild about modern computing. Using just a single high-end graphics card, the same kind people use for gaming, a password cracker can test an absolutely mind-boggling 8.7 times billion password combinations per second. All of a sudden, eventually starts to sound a whole lot like right now.
But of course, investigators don't just rely on brute force. They use much smarter methods to speed things up. A dictionary attack, for example, will just try common words or passwords from known data breaches. A hybrid attack gets even cleverer, trying combinations like password with numbers and symbols at the end. And then there are rainbow tables, which are basically giant pre-computed answer keys that let them look up password hashes incredibly fast.
So as you can see, to uncover all these different kinds of clues, from the fleeting data in live memory to the deepest secrets on the hard drive, a digital forensic investigator needs a really diverse toolkit.
And that toolkit really breaks down into two main types of gear. On one hand, you've got those quick and dirty command line tools we saw earlier. They're fast, they're direct, and they're built right into the operating system. But on the other hand, you have these incredibly powerful software suites with fancy graphical interfaces that bundle hundreds of tools together, making it way easier to manage a huge investigation and connect all the dots.
So we've seen how investigators can rebuild a timeline from scratch, pull data seemingly out of thin air, and crack passwords with sheer computational power. It really proves that almost nothing on a computer is ever truly gone, which leaves us with one last question to think about. Now that you know the tools and you've seen the techniques, how safe are your secrets?